House of Falling Leaves, a parable about memory. In the heart of a broad and whispering forest, where the ground rose and dipped like sleeping breath, there stood a house that no map marked, yet no traveler who passed ever forgot. It was built not for protection, but for remembering. Its walls were thin, and its doors open to wind and time alike. The house was made of wood so old it seemed grown, not cut. It leaned slightly to one side, as though it had listened too long to one direction of the world. Around it, trees shed leaves with a rhythm known only to them, each fall forming soft carpets of golden rust that whispered with the tread of birds, foxes, and sometimes people. Within that house lived an old man, whose name had long since been exchanged for silence. He was neither hermit nor sage, neither lost nor found. He simply remained, moving as the seasons moved, slow and deep. He tended to the leaves. Each morning he would sweep the fallen layers into small piles around the house. He never burned them, nor threw them away. Instead, he arranged them in circular patterns that shifted with the wind and time. To an onlooker, it would seem meaningless, but to the forest, it was a form of listening. Inside the house, the rooms were nearly bare. No scrolls or treasures lined the shelves, no signs of learning or display. And yet, every surface held traces of something more enduring, the quiet presence of memory. Not in objects, but in stillness. Visitors sometimes came. They did not always plan to. A lost traveler, a child chasing a deer, a woman walking with grief. Each found the house by seeming accident. The old man welcomed them without word or gesture. He simply remained. He offered no teachings. He offered presence, and the house did the rest. Those who stayed felt something shift inside them. It was not comfort exactly, nor was it clarity. It was like waking into a dream one had forgotten was real. They would remember things, not events or names, but textures, feelings, impressions from long ago. A scent from childhood, the feeling of water under a full moon, the way silence felt beside someone once loved. The house remembered for them, and in that remembering, they softened. The leaves outside mirrored this. They fell in spirals, not drops. They rustled not with warning, but with invitation. Every tree near the house seemed to lean inward as if bowing to something held within. The old man did not record anything. He did not ask questions nor give answers, but the forest around him grew lush, thick with vines and roots that had forgotten their beginning. Birds nested in places untouched by hand. The air smelled always of loam and dusk, the fragrance of time unhurried. One autumn, as the canopy turned to flame and the earth grew heavy with scent, a great wind swept the forest. It tore branches, broke paths, and scattered the leaves that had been so carefully tended. The patterns dissolved overnight. The house stood unshaken, but the silence that followed the wind felt different, emptier, more expectant. The old man rose with the dawn, stepped outside, and beheld the ruin not as loss, but as transformation. He did not mourn the scattered leaves. Instead, he walked into the forest. Where he stepped, the ground remembered him. Roots bent subtly, fans curled open. He moved not as one who sought to restore, but as one who listened. For days he gathered fallen twigs, broken bark, crushed moss. He placed them gently where the wind had carved scars. He did not rebuild the patterns of leaves. He let them lie as they had fallen. In their chaos, new shapes emerged. Spirals became lines. Circles opened into arcs, and the house began to reflect these changes. Visitors returned, though fewer now. They came with deeper questions they did not speak aloud. They sat for hours beneath the eaves, touching the weathered walls, watching the dance of shadow and leaf. And still, memory came, not as recollection but as presence. They remembered not what had happened, but what had always been true. Time passed. The old man grew thin. His steps slowed. One day, he did not rise. The house remained, silent as ever, the forest breathing around it like a great lung. No one came to bury him. No one needed to. His body fed the roots, and the roots remembered. In the years that followed, The house slowly yielded to the forest. Its walls leaned further, then crumbled. Its beams returned to earth. Moss claimed the floor. The space remained open, shaped by absence, and still, the memory remained. Travelers still found the place. They did not know why they had come. They brought no expectations. Yet when they stepped onto the softened ground, they felt it, a kind of pause, a silence that did not erase, but revealed. They would sit beneath the trees, surrounded by the hush of fallen leaves, and remember, not with thought, but with breath, not the events of their lives, but the weight and texture of being. In this the forest kept the old man's work alive. No shrine marked the spot. No name was carved. But memory lived, not as story, not as record, but as space. A space where what was could still be felt, not captured, not held, only honored. And in that honoring, new things were born, not from invention, but from remembrance, reflection. This parable suggests that memory is not a fixed archive of past events, but a living field, quiet, sacred, and ever-changing. Memory, in its deepest sense, is not about grasping, but about allowing. Not about preserving detail, but holding the essence. When we make space for stillness, memory visits, not as thought, but as presence. Not to weigh us down, but to return us to what matters, what remains, what breathes within us still.